Also National
Go
Potato
ahead,
Chip
Bob.
Day.
I think it's-
Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. It's March 14th, 2022 meeting of the boards of directors, and it's a special meeting for public hearing. Are there any public comments?
Roll call. You need to roll.
A roll call. Let's do that first.
Thank you. Director Brett Eccles,
Here.
Director Arthur Perry,
Here.
Secretary Arlene Schaefer. Here. Vice President Michael Schaefer,
Here.
President Robert Luton.
Here. Has any public comments been submitted, or do we see any raised hands?
You received written public comments from Mr. Mosher yesterday,
Yes.
and as well as District Council's response to those questions.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
And there have been no other questions or comments received since then. Let me check and see if we have any hands raised at the moment. Not see any.
Okay, let's go ahead. We'll open the public hearing to consider voting division adjustments after the decennial census.
Mr. President, would you like a little lead-in report first about it, and then, are you gonna take public comments and do everything afterwards?
Okay, would you read that, Alan?
Could I give a little lead into this before you open the public hearing?
Okay,
Thanks. Good afternoon, board. This is the second public hearing that you are required to hold before adopting the revised map, which accounts for population variances in your voting districts. After the 2020 decennial census, we were required to do this analysis to ensure that voting divisions are within legally acceptable variations so that they are roughly equal. Our demographer, Deborah Deep of the Center for Demographic Research, was able to adjust those boundaries slightly to make our divisions legally defensible. And that is the map you have before you tonight. We are recommending that you conduct the public hearing and then adopt the resolution before you, which has the map as an attachment. We will be bringing an ordinance before you later to have a reference in the operations code about the adoption of the voting divisions as a housekeeping measure. And we need to straighten that out. We have a little glitch with it since we adopted the original map, but this is all you have to do tonight to adopt the division adjustments. As always, Ms. Deep is present to answer your questions about the demographics part of the action tonight. And I thank you, and I stand ready to answer your questions if you have any legal questions. Thank you.
so now we're going to open the public hearing to consider voting division adjustments after the decennial census. Does the board have any questions?
No, I just had talked to Deborah through the email, and so I have all my questions. Okay.
Okay.
I'm fine.
Do any of the other directors have any questions? I think we've seen the Deborah Deep's presentation, and it was in the board packet. Does any of the directors want to see that again or need to see it again? If not, then I'm not receiving any comments. There are no raised hands, are there?
There is now. Mr. Mosher has his hand raised.
Oh, okay, Mr. Mosier, go ahead.
Mr. Mosher, did you have a public comment that you'd like to make?
He's muted.
Oh, hold on, you're muted.
Can you see him?
Said it all.
No, but I can see the little line through his microphone.
Oh,
Mosher, are you able to hear us?
Yes, I am.
There you go. Did you have any public comment that you'd like to make this evening, sir?
Oh, yes, I do. And I'm sorry, I had some technological difficulty and had to change devices.
That is
Uh,
okay. That would be the time to do so.
Yes, the comment I wanted to make, and I'm sorry if I missed the first 5 minutes here, so I don't know what happened, is that on the district website currently, under governance, there is a page called elections, and it has on it a very clear map of the districts, and it has a verbal description of the district boundaries. The current copy of the resolution that I saw being proposed for adoption does not actually have attached to it a clear map. It has attached to it a plan for a map that very confusingly shows the existing district boundaries, and then it shades in blue a little block along the boundary between, what is it, District 2 and 5, showing apparently that it will move from, I think it's 23rd Street to Virginia Place. So there are two questions. One, doesn't the board actually want to adopt a clear new map with clear boundary lines on it and not just a plan for a map? And number two, if the only change that is being made is moving from one street to Virginia Place along a part of a block, it would seem very easy to update the verbal description where the district boundaries are, because there would be only one minor change in those. Absent that, if we are now defining the boundaries by census blocks rather than streets, as the old verbal description said, is that page going to eliminate the verbal description and post the census block listing, which would be very long and very hard for the public to understand? So I would suggest, number one, adopting a very clear map showing not the old boundaries, but the current ones, or the proposed new ones. And number two, making that simple change to the old verbal description so that the public can read the boundary description if they want to. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Ellen, do you have a comment?
I would ask that Deborah respond to that as she interacts with the registrar and knows what's required for the map, and she knows which map is required and whether that one is attached or not. So if she's comfortable with that, I would ask her to respond.
Sure. So if you give me 5 minutes, I could create another map right now and remove the existing 2018 director division boundaries and show only the proposed boundaries for Plan 1. So that's, if you want to wait 5 minutes, I can just do it really quick and I can pop it up on screen if you want to be able to see what it is. The reason why we had both of the boundaries on there was just to show what the differences were, or the minor differences, what they were. The description, the narrative description about the changes is something that is typically done after and posted on the website after the plan is actually adopted and it becomes the division boundaries. What's required by the registrar of voters is simply a map or GIS files, electronic files that show what the boundaries are, what has been adopted by any given board or agency. And then they translate those into whatever they need and the precincts for those to implement for elections. So additional information that's posted on the websites, it can be as robust or as simple as the districts want. If folks in the public is requesting that narrative description, we can easily update that based on whatever plan is adopted. We typically don't do that for all, say there's multiple plans that are proposed. That's not done typically until the boundaries have been actually adopted. So that simple narrative change, I completely agree. It's much easier for the public to follow streets and for a district the size of this district, I would, recommend doing that. The census blocks are things that folks like data nerds like me, folks who use statistical data all the time, we would be familiar with those, but I completely understand why it would be something that would not be in either the vernacular or something that would be boundaries that would be familiar to the public. Though the Register of Voters can use either, and the GIS or electronic shape files that we would provide to them. For the public, I think the block boundary file or listing of the blocks would not be something that would be readily consumable by the public. And the registrar doesn't need those. We've already working with them for decades now on what it is they need, and recently talking to them about the geographic files that they would need to implement this. We don't need to provide the block list to the registrar in order to do that. So depending on what the public wants or what the board would like to do, or even staff, we can do both. But the narrative description, if the boundaries are adopted, we can make those updates simply. But again, if you'd like me to just kind of work real quick and pop up a PDF to see what those boundaries would look like, we can do that. But a new map would be updated, and in a sense would be the map that I could do right now for you. If you wanted to see only the current plan boundaries that are being proposed, I could do that for you.
This is Vice President Schaefer. I have a question. Is the map on the website with the blue shaded areas essentially the same thing as what you would do now?
Yes, if you're talking about the current adopted 2018 boundaries, it would look generally the same as that map, but just be updated with the new proposed boundaries.
I'm not sure I really need it tonight, because we're not making the final adoption tonight. We're not doing that until the later meeting, correct?
No, this is actually the meeting, Mr. Vice President, that we would be adopting the map. So if the map is not clear in terms of what the board's action is, then
Mhm.
I would ask Deborah to take a brief recess and redo that. But it's my understanding that was the map that clearly showed what we were adopting.
Okay.
The board does not have to adopt the final map today, but we set it up so that the final map could be adopted tonight, and that is the resolution before you.
Thanks, Mr. President. Deborah, just a quick question. I mean, to readjust the map, we're talking about 2 blocks here. Am I looking at it correctly that basically the final map, if we approve Plan 1, is just going to move the boundary line up closer to Virginia Place? Is that correct?
Right, it would be along
Yeah.
Virginia Place. And
Okay.
if you guys just keep chatting for a couple of minutes, I'm almost done. I'm doing it right now. So,
And then my recommendation is, anything that makes it easier to understand. So the narrative, if we approve this, is probably a good idea on our website. Just a little bit easier and more clear is good for everyone. That would be my suggestion.
certainly.
All right. Thank you.
Do any of the other directors have comments? Okay, Deborah, we'll give you a minute.
Just give me a minute.
I like it. So where is Virginia Place on that? Yeah, I don't even. Oh, right where all this stuff is.
What's going to happen is that black line's going to move right
Okay, thank you. Oh, so you have to do that. No wonder.
Luckily, it's a quick change. It's not something that is
See it.
that cumbersome. So normally I wouldn't do something like this, but it's pretty simple. So we can do this.
Oh, that's okay. That's weird, yeah. My side and then yours, that's what we were talking about before. Duh.
Basically, the boundary line just has to move up to Virginia Place.
It's one block.
Right. Exactly. Okay, so Nolani, if I can share my screen, if that's, I can do that.
Yes, go ahead.
Perfect.
You're posted. Mhm.
Okay, so same title that we're looking at, and all I did was I removed the existing, you'll see there only the plan is in the legend, so the current director divisions are not included. And as a whole, all the color fill is the same that you saw before with the different divisions. And then the boundary line, the black boundary line is not only the district boundary, but then also covering the divisions. So again, from the easternmost part of the boundary and the district boundary, we come along 22nd Street, up Santa Ana, across Virginia Place, and then across the 55 to Newport Boulevard. And all of these other boundaries are exactly the same as before. The only difference is these 3 street blocks and census blocks have moved from Division 2 into Division 5.
Maybe.
Okay, do any of the directors have further comments or questions? If not, we've seen the adjustments, and we have a new map, and we will provide a better verbal description than on the website. And so now we need to do recommendation number 2. You'll have to, well, after the second public hearing, which this is it, adopt a resolution incorporating the map by our demographer with the adjustments in the boundaries to account for the population changes for District 2022 election.
I'll move for approval.
I second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or any abstentions? I believe that is the business that we need to conduct tonight.
We need to
That document.
resolution adoption.
Exhibit A.
I'm sorry, Al, I was,
What
we
is
need
it?
to adopt the resolution, correct?
That's what I just read.
And that plan becomes the new Exhibit A
Right.
to the resolution.
So Art's motion did approve the resolution. I thought it was just for the map.
No, it was
For the
to adopt the
resolution. Okay.
resolution.
Gotcha.
Resolution approving the map.
If that's the case, could we have in the record that Art Perry, Director Art Perry motioned and Secretary Schaefer seconded resolution 2022-956 for the record? Yes.
Okay, do we have to we've received public comments, unless there's further comments, this public hearing is closed.
Well, actually, Mr. President, the public hearing closed before you took your vote. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure that out. Okay, we're going to closing items. Do any of the directors have any comments or oral communications to add to this evening's agenda?
Just one real quick one, since Deborah is still online with this. Is the campus all abuzz about the Titans going to the big tournament?
Always.
Yeah, I mean, people aren't in the streets celebrating. We're going to the Titans are going to the big dance.
If they are wearing masks, because we're still wearing masks on campus, but yes, they're a buzz.
I have to go, Mom.
Okay,
Thank you.
if there are none, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you
Thank you,
very much.
everyone.
thank you.
Thank you, Alan.
Everyone, thank you.
Bye,
Thank
Scott.
you all.
Bye-bye.